this axis where we know that this one represents 0. Let me do it properly. Zero degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees, and obviously back here, it's one full rotation. Met ander woorde, terug op 360 grade. Those are not made up numbers. It means that all angles in this, if you measure it with, wat noem jy dit, 'n protractor in Engels, met 'n gradeboog, dan gaan daai almal skerp hoeke wees. All going to be acute angles. In other words, they will all be between 0 and 90 degrees. If you measure this line, it's 180 degrees. If you measure this, it's 270 degrees. Okay, so that's what that's based on. Now, what we do with trigonometry is we draw triangles in those. Nou, onthou, jy teken altyd die skynsy weg van die x-as af en dan die ander sy terug na die x-as toe. So back to the horizontal. So when I'm drawing one in this, like that, if this is my angle theta, and recall the hypotenuse r, dan gaan hierdie mos 'n y-waarde wees en daai gaan 'n x-waarde wees. None of this should be new news to you guys. You should all know this, right? Ons stof net 'n bietjie die spinnerakke af. Okay, in which quadrant did I draw that? In the one, right? And we number them like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, en dan as ons gaan kyk na ons trigonometriese funksies, dan gaan ek hulle definieer in terme van x en y. So if I have sine of the angle theta, it'll be y over r. If I have cos of the angle theta, it'll be x over r. And if I have tan of the angle theta, it'll be y over x. Okay. En nou as ons gaan en dit gaan toepas in ons ander kwadrante, gee dit vir ons die tekens wat sekere funksies gaan hê in elke kwadrant. So in this quadrant, in this first quadrant, do you agree that all y values are positive? Nee? Alle y-waardes is positief, alle x-waardes is positief en r is mos altyd positief. Nee? So in this quadrant, it doesn't matter which one of these fractions I'm working with, all of them will give me a positive answer. A for all, amal. Okay. If I go into the second quadrant, do you agree that all y values will still be positive? Nee? Maar x is mos negatief aan hierdie kant. Met ander woorde, daai twee wat 'n x in het, gaan 'n negatiewe breek wees. And that is why we say that only sine is positive in the second quadrant. If I go to the third one, both x and y are negative. So the only place where it will be positive is when I'm working with tan. Want dan het ek 'n minus gedeel deur 'n minus. So that's where we get those from. The cos diagram that tells you which one of your functions will be positive in each of your 4 quadrants. Nee? Ons begin die maandag stadig. Oumies. Okay, in other words, if I'm working with an acute angle, the function of all of my angles in that quadrant will give you a positive answer. Want sin en cos en tan is positief in die eerste kwadrant. Maar as jy gaan werk met 'n hoek wat groter is as 90 grade maar kleiner is as 80, gaan die funksies van die hoeke, as jy praat van cos en van tan, vir jou negatiewe antwoord gee en net sin vir jou positiewe antwoord, etc, etc, etc. Okay, good. Now if we carry on, I'm going to do, they call it reduksieformules in julle boeke, maar ek noem dit sommer herleidings. I'm going to fill it in on this one as well. we prefer to work with an acute angle. So whenever we get an expression with different functions en ons is nie besig om met skerphoeke te werk nie, dan gaan herlei jy dit na in terme van skerphoeke. So my herleidingsformules is in hierdie kwadrant net theta, lekker maklik. In hierdie kwadrant werk ek met 180 grade minus theta, in hierdie kwadrant 180 grade plus theta, en in hierdie kwadrant 360 grade minus theta. And we'll practice some of those as well. And then last year we did another two. Who can remember what we did last year as well? The co-functions, right? So when you are working with sine of 90 degrees minus theta, it gives you cos sin van 90 grade plus theta, gee ook vir jou cos van 90 grade minus theta, gee vir jou sin van theta, en hierdie ene is die een wat 'n negatiewe teken kry. Min sin theta. Okay. We're going to practice some now. Moenie worry nie. Dan die laaste ding wat ek net gou vinnig hier in die opsomming wil sit. Ons doen in graad 12 doen ons nog identiteite by. We're going to do some more identities and we'll probably start with that tomorrow. But the two that we did in grade 11 you have to know. Remember the one is that sine squared of an angle plus cos squared of that same angle is equal to 1. And the other one is that sine over cos is equal to tan. Okay. Daar is sekere uitbreidings van daai ook, maar dit sal ons mooi na kyk as ons bietjie identiteite hersien. So onthou byvoorbeeld as ons gaan kyk na die ene, maar jy hoef nie nou neer te skryf nie. Beteken dit sin kwadraat van theta is ook gelyk aan 1 min cos kwadraat theta, nee, ons vat hom net oor en dieselfde met cos kwadraat theta sal gelyk wees aan 1 min sin kwadraat theta. Maar ons gaan nou maar 'n bietjie hersiening doen van identiteite. Okay, so let's start with the triangle questions. Wat hulle vir jou sê, as sin gelyk is aan dit, gaan teken 'n skets en los hom op. So we get two different types. We get the ones where they give you the actual fractions, and we get ones where they ask you to define it in terms of a variable, like in terms of k or in terms of s. So I'm going to do certain questions from exercise 1, so you can write a heading for yourself. Exercise 1 on page 91. And we're going to do number 2. Okay, hulle gee vir jou as 7 sin theta plus 4 gelyk is aan 0 en cos van theta is groter as 0, bepaal die waarde van die volgende sonder die gebruik van 'n sakrekenaar. And then they give you two different expressions to simplify. Okay, so we'll get to the expressions now. I'll just write them down for you guys. It's 1 minus 49 cos squared theta, and the other one is cos theta times tan theta. Okay, nou die groot ding wat julle hier moet sien is hulle sê sonder die gebruik van 'n sakrekenaar. So you have to know that that means you are using a sketch. So your first step will be to draw that sketch. Okay. Ek gaan begin deur eers die eerste stuk inligting te skryf as net funksie van 'n hoek is 'n verhouding. So just the function of an angle is equal to a relationship or a fraction. So do you guys agree that I can rewrite this one as sin of theta is equal to negative 4 over 7? Right? Okay. And now you use that along with the information that they gave you about cos of theta is bigger than 0 to determine, first of all, in which of your quadrants you will be drawing that sketch. Okay, so kom ons kyk gou-gou. Hulle sê vir jou sin van die hoek is negatief. Which of my two quadrants has a negative sign value? 3 and 4. Do you agree? 3 and 4 have negative sign values. Now let's look at the second part. They're looking for cos bigger than 0. In which of my two quadrants will cos be bigger than 0? In 1 and 4. Nee? Positive in 1 and 4. So now you check the only quadrant that I have two ticks in, die enigste kwadrant wat al twee van daai goeters voor ja is, né? Is die vierde kwadrant. Do you all understand how I chose the fourth quadrant as the one that I'll be drawing the sketch? Okay, nou gaan teken jy hom af. So. Gaan 'n bietjie groter maak. En hierdie ene is die hoek waarna ons kyk. And then you use this relationship that they gave you. Okay, so hulle sê vir jou, dis minus 4 oor 7. So, 4 en 7, hoe weet ek hulle kom daar? Want is sin. So, it's the opposite over the hypotenuse. Oorstaande op die skynsy. Okay? Which one of those two should be negative? Why the 4? The 4 is correct? Yes, y is negative in the fourth quadrant. Né? En ook r kan nie negatief wees nie. This one will never have a negative value. Okay, goed. So as jy jou skets met al jou inligting het, is jou tweede stap om die ander waarde uit te werk. Kan julle onthou wat ons gebruik om dit te doen? Goed. Okay, so I'm going to solve for x, and I'm going to say x squared is equal to 7 squared minus 4 squared. Oh my word, where was my self-recognition? Wortel 33. Jy kan hom gaan skryf as 'n desimaal. O nee, hoekom kan jy hom nie gaan skryf as 'n desimaal nie? Mooi, sonder gebruik van 'n sakrekenaar. So los hom wortel 30. Okay. So that goes there. Positive or negative? Why positive? Want x is positief in die vierde kwadrant. Okay. Eerste en vierde, ja. Okay. Goed. Almal regte daar. And from there, you simply read off the values from your triangle, substitute it into the expressions that you have to simplify, and do just that. Okay. So as ons die eerste ene gaan doen, a, so hulle soek 1 min 49 cos kwadraat theta. As ons hier gaan aflees, is cos aangrensend wortel 33 op skyns